Hey everyone, and welcome to Sorry, I'll start again. Hello everyone, and welcome to 365.live. My name is Mark Vale, and I'm your host for this show. Today with me, I have a very special guest, which is myself. And I'm going to be talking a bit around UCDay, what we're going to be doing there, and also around some news, rumors from Microsoft Ignite. So to kick off this show and this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about UCDay and what this is. So if you haven't been before and never heard of UCDay, it is a totally free Microsoft-centric conference hosted in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. The event is organized by Andrew Price and a few other community leaders and MVPs, and the event is totally free for you guys to come and join. So it's going to be held this year on the 9th of October, which is a Monday. So if you haven't got the day off, I strongly suggest that you organise this now. Tickets are available on a first come, first served basis. So head on over to www.ucday.co.uk and sign up for a ticket. So UCDay started 3 years ago now, and it initially focused around Skype for Business and Link, hence the name UCDay. But it evolved last year into the stack of Azure and the Microsoft Cloud, and it now has several tracks covering Azure, Skype for Business, Exchange, SharePoint development, and what have you. So if you are interested in any one of those topics, maybe you are an IT pro, maybe you are a CXO, maybe you're just starting out and you're learning the Microsoft Cloud and what it can do, it's a very good conference to join. And the sessions are hosted primarily by leading speakers in the United Kingdom and also from Europe and the US, as well as MVPs as well. So you get really you get Ignite style content for free. So if you can't go to Microsoft Ignite, UCDay is a good second. So it's a very intimate conference in terms of that you can get close to the speakers and get close to the sponsors. And because it's relatively small scale, that obviously gives you more time to spend with the people that you want to know. So who's going to be there? So like I said before, we've got MVPs, some new, some returning. So we've got the likes of Stally Hansen, Jan-Vid Elven, Ingo Gegenworth, Tony Redmond, etc. And a few new ones like Johan Delemon from Belgium. And he's got kind of a unique way of presenting with his stylus. So if nothing else, it's an interesting session to go to. Other than the speakers, of course, we wouldn't be there without the help of the sponsors, and there's a sponsor hall. So we've got the likes of Plantronics, Microsoft is also a technology sponsor, Starleaf, Polycom, etc. So if you want to get close to the vendors and the ISVs, then UCDay is the place to come. We've also got several contact center ISVs there, Engehouse, Anywhere 365, and a few others, I think. So it's a very good conference. Like I say, it's totally free. So if you want to come along for some free food at least, then please do so. So my involvement with the UCDay is not so much with the organization of it all. I'm kind of there as an add-on. And I'll be hosting my 365 show live from the sponsor hall, and I'll be located on the stage. I did this last year under the banner of the Skype show, but as I rebranded at the beginning of this year I'll be there as obviously 365. So if you did turn up last year, then you'll notice I had a booth on the stage, and it was kind of like a little, based on a room, a little set. This year it's going to be slightly different in the fact that I'm not just going to have one guest on per program. I'm going to have up to 3. So we're going to be doing it a bit more interactive, a bit more conversational, and I've got some really good sessions that I hope you tune into. So last year I did 2 live streams, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And this year, I'm taking it a step further and doing a live stream all the way through the day. So not only am I doing a live stream on Skype broadcast meetings, I'm also going to stream to multiple broadcast content publishing sites. So I'm going to be simultaneously broadcasting to YouTube, Periscope, Facebook Live, and also Skype broadcast meetings all at the same time. And I won't be able to do this without the help of one of our sponsors for the show, Pexip. So we're going to be using Pexip endpoint, and they're going to be streaming to up to 5 different streaming sites. So if you're on Periscope, you can watch it on Periscope. Also be on Twitter via Periscope. So I'm trying to give you enough ways of watching the live stream as possible. If you're going to tune into the Skype broadcast stream, then I'm going to be using live transcription services as well in up to 6 different languages. So if I haven't quite decided which languages they're going to be, but so just probably going to be French, German, Chinese, and a few others. So that's a bit of a challenge for us. One challenge was how to get 4 microphones into one Skype for Business meeting. Achieving that using a mixer. So this is going to be a bit strange for us, but hopefully it will work out. Tested it, it seems to work okay, so I don't expect any massive issues. Like I said before, we're sponsored by Pexip, and we're also sponsored by Verba as well. So Verba is a call recording solution for Skype for Business. And as a big thank you to them, without their sponsorship and well, ultimately money, right? So we wouldn't be able to do this show from UCDay. So massive thanks to them. And in return, they've obviously got a couple of sessions on the schedule. Before I dive into the schedule that we're going to be delivering, we're going even further, and I'm enlisting the help of Martin Bohm and Steve Harwood. And what Martin's going to be doing is going onto the sponsor hall and speaking to sponsors, finding out a bit about who they are, what they offer, how to contact them, and also speaking to some attendees as well. So you'll get feedback from the actual people who've turned up to UCDay, so you'll get unfiltered, unbiased views on how great the conference is. Steve's going to be, he's going to be stalking the speakers. So as speakers come out with their sessions, he's going to be grabbing them, pulling them to one side, and doing a little video interview with them about who they are, what they spoke about, how it was received, and what have you. As well as that, we're obviously going to have a camera. It's going to be video streamed on the stage, but I'm also going to turn the camera onto the audience and to the attendee floor. So we'll have crowd cam, I guess. So maybe I'll put something around the camera to say pull some smiley faces or some weird selfies, and we'll have that as a bit of an entertainer. On to the schedule. So I'm thinking about starting the schedule around about 10 o'clock. So in the morning, so that's UK time. That's just after the keynote. And the first session, obviously, is going to be meeting the UCDay team. So we're going to be talking to Andrew Price, Jason Wynn, a few others who help out and organise UCDay, find out, how they've gotten on this year, how the attendees are. And they're also announcing something for next year around UCDay. So I believe UCDay is going to be evolving into something new, and that announcement is going to happen in the keynote. So fresh from the keynote, Andrew and Jason and what have you will be sitting on 365 talking about that. So exciting news for next year at least. Moving on into the morning, we're going to have our 2 sponsor sessions. So at 10:30, we're going to be talking to Pexip, and we'll find out about their Skype for Business certification around their Infinity Cloud. It should be an exciting topic. And we're going to be have Graham Walsh on from Pexip talking to us about that. Around about 11:15, we're also going to have our second sponsor session from Verba. And then we'll take lunch about 12 o'clock and return at 12:30. So at 12:30, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to have Microsoft's Technical Solutions Professional, Graham Hosking, on as well, talking about Teams and collaboration in the cloud. Around about about 1 o'clock, we're going to have Claire Smith on, who is the MVP lead for the UK. And we're going to be talking about community leadership, how you can get involved in the community if you're thinking about becoming an MVP, what you can do, the efforts required, and the process and what have you. So if you're interested in becoming an MVP, or you're interested in starting something in the community, then we're going to have a half-an-hour discussion on how you can achieve that and how Microsoft can help you, and other community leaders in the community can help you achieve what you're setting out to achieve. Around about 1:30, we're going to be speaking to Stally Hansen and Alexander Holmset from Cloudway, and we're going to be talking about how Cloudway is helping businesses move from traditional on-premises into the Microsoft Cloud. And those who don't know who Stally is, Stally is an MVP, long-standing Skype for Business MVP as well, well respected. He set up Cloudway AS in Norway with his friend Jan Ketil Stanke, who is also an MVP as well. So their business model was, well, we'll create a business built in the cloud and built out of Microsoft MVPs. So it's a very interesting journey, and we hope to speak to Stally and his team on UCDay about how they've achieved that so far. Then after that, about 1:45, we're going to be talking to Andrew Price and Will Rowe about the future of the IT Pro. So if you want to know what's in store for you in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, then you can join us for a half-an-hour panel discussion on that. We'll get some interesting views, not only from an IT pro in terms of Andrew, but also from a recruitment perspective by Will. So should be an interesting discussion, bit humorous, bit quirky, off the cuff sort of thing. So it should be good. Then after that, we're going to be talking to Jen Stirrup, who's also an MVP as well. And we're going to be talking about women in technology and her equality charter that she's trying to set up. So that should be also an interesting one, because it's becoming a very prevalent topic about women in technology and how we can make sure that equal opportunities are there for everyone, not only women, but transgender and other other people. I don't quite know what the word is, but we will talk about how she's finding life in the technology sector, how she feels oppressed, perhaps, and the steps that she's put into place to try and break down that barrier, as it were, the glass ceiling. After her session, we're going to have an hour's special session based on the social impacts of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we all know that AI and machine learning are the next big thing. It's going to impact us as a species far more than we ever really set out to even hope for. And we're making great inroads into ML and AI. And I think it's moving at such a pace that society is obviously moves at a slower pace and is going to struggle to catch up. So we'll look at the topics such as, will workplace displacement, will robots replace people power? What's going to happen with the human surplus, for instance? Which sectors are going to be impacted first, and what we can do now to try and protect our future and make our future for our children and children's children a successful one. So I'm going to be speaking with Tom Morgan and a couple of other people who I've touted for this discussion. I'm just waiting for them to confirm, but it should be quite an interesting topic, because I'm trying to get a balance of pro-cloud and neutral and against. So it should be quite an interesting topic. And then after that, we're going to be talking to Martin Bohm at the end of the day, just to have a wrap up, and Steve as well, a wrap up of the day's events, their feedback, any news that they've come across that we haven't captured, And then we hope to close off the broadcast around about 4 o'clock. So as you can see, hopefully here, understand, it's going to be quite an in-depth broadcast. It's going to be quite an interesting one, challenging for me, but with only half an hour's, oh, for God's sake. Sorry, PC's just decided to lock out. So let's start again. There we go. So it should be quite a challenging event for me with only half an hour's break, but hey, we're going to deliver some fantastic content, some fantastic guests, and it should be, it should be useful for not only the IT pro, but also for anybody in technology at any level. After the event, obviously, all these recordings are going to be posted onto YouTube. The recordings that Martin and Steve are going to be doing will be edited down and obviously posted as well as a little mini series, as it were. Moving on to Ignite now. So for those of you who are fortunate enough to go to Ignite in Orlando this year, congratulations. I'm well jealous. Unfortunately, my employer decided not to pay for me this year again. Don't know what it is. I think it's just like a perception thing, but yeah, so unfortunately I won't be there. I'm actually quite gutted about it because there's a lot of things going to happen in Ignite. There's a lot of topics that's exciting people, and yeah, there's going to be a few shocks, I think. So it is the place to be on the 25th of September for a week if you want to be at the forefront and at the knife edge of all the new announcements coming out of Microsoft. So head on over to ignite.microsoft.com. They have a session builder where you can go and scan like thousands of sessions. I mean, it's literally like the best conference outside of UCDay that you can go to, but obviously it carries a price tag. So the biggest rumor, really, I mean, it's not really been talked about much. There's no information, so this hasn't even been confirmed, right? This is just observations around the world. So there's going to be a pretty big change to Skype for Business, specifically online, I think, and Microsoft Teams. So there have been some subtleties that have been happening in the last sort of few months. If you notice that the messaging around Cloud PBX, Skype for Business Online, is kind of slowed down a little bit. They're not marketing that as hard these days, but they're hammering Microsoft Teams. You know, Teams can do this, Teams can do that, Teams can do X, Y, and Z. Why do you, so are they deciding to, merge the two platforms together into one unified comm solution? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? But I updated my VBX 4.10 the other day to UCS 5.6, and I noticed that the UI changed from dark blue to purple, or a mysterious shade of purple. So when I looked up the build, it was called Vino, so it's definitely purple, not black and white, or sorry, black and black, or black and dark blue. So my Skype for Business is blue, right? So it's purple, so that's probably kind of a big clue. What else? Yeah, so we also know that Cloud PBX is going to be rebranded from Cloud PBX to Microsoft Phone System. Again, it's kind of like a bit of a generic term. So, and there's been no announcements around sort of Skype for Business Online in terms of feature announcements. I mean, I looked at the roadmap just before I recorded this, and it's got in development absolutely nothing. The only development in there is the ability to allow Exchange 2013, 2016 on-premises servers as voicemail deposits for Azure voicemail. And that's been out for a bit. So whereas Teams, there are absolute tons of stuff on the roadmap. So they're pushing out external access for guest access. They started that in a small rollout, sorry. Yeah, so there are a few problems with the Federation at the moment, I believe. So we're getting kind of close to this announcement that everybody's expecting, yet the solution doesn't seem to be stable at this time. I'm sure they'll get there, but if they're pushing external access, they already do peer-to-peer voice video calling. They also they've actually pushed out the scheduling of meetings into Outlook now as the Outlook button. When you schedule a meeting, you got join Skype meeting or schedule Microsoft Teams meeting. And really all they kind of need to do is plug a PSTN trunk into Teams, and we pretty much got similar capability to Skype for Business. So does that signal the end for Skype for Business online or even on premises? I don't know so much. I think it's going to take another form, to be honest. I'm not too worried. If it is rebranded to Teams or Skype Teams or Skype for Business Teams Communication R2 or whatever. So I mean, this is just rumors, so this is just me just saying, so I don't really know. It's going to be quite an interesting message, I think. But what does that leave for on-premises? So, I mean, Microsoft's been quite quiet for vNext for, almost a year, right? So usually when we hear about vNext sort of on the 2-year anniversary of the last released product, we're well past the 2 years of that now. And they've only just committed to saying, yep, there will be a vNext for server. Will that be called Skype for Business Server? Who knows? But we know there's a server coming. What features can we expect out of that server? So if I'm being completely honest, I'd probably expect small changes. I don't expect it to be massive. More compatibility with the cloud. Maybe we'll leverage the cloud more for PSTN conferencing. I mean, that would really help the on-premises story and the hybrid story, at least. Like if I can have an on-premises account registered to a Skype for Business server on-prem, but I can actually host a conference in the cloud and use Microsoft PSTN conferencing services to dial in, that's a massive win, right? Because I don't have to go and find my own ACP service and SIP trunk and what have you. So that would be an interesting addition if ever came to it. I think one of the changes, the small changes that we're going to see is the control panel is going to disappear from Silverlight because they've been trying to get rid of Silverlight for years. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to HTML5 control panel, if I'm being honest. I mean, if they don't, they're pretty much idiots. But the main thing is for those businesses who are looking at the cloud but saying it's not ready for my workload yet, I need to stay on premises, but I don't know what's coming next after 2015 Skype. There is going to be a vNext service, so that means for the next 10 years at least, there's going to be an on-premises presence in terms of server. So some longevity there for us just yet. So it's not all going to the cloud straight away as fast as we all think it is. So other than that, what else are we going to see at Ignite? I haven't really been following the other tracks, to be honest. I can't imagine any major announcements around Exchange. I mean, email's kind of done. Maybe more announcements around Yammer. I know Skype Presence was getting integrated with Yammer, and we're going to have Yammer video as well. So Yammer's not dead yet. Perhaps they'll focus on that. Other things, we've already know that the Surface Pro 5 has been kind of put to bed at least for a while since they released the Surface Pro, which is the Surface Pro 4.1, I guess. Same sort of hardware, a few bits of tweaks here and there. But we're not going to see a Surface Pro 5, as it were, at least at Ignite anyway. So we may see the Surface phone. I mean, there's been rumors around the Surface phone for a while, and the fact that they've binned off the Lumia brand and Windows Phone means that Microsoft are now going to focus on their own Windows 10 mobile OS. And I think they were working on a common OS platform because even though they tried to put Windows 10 on a phone, it still required like custom code or a custom OS really. So I think they're working on Andromeda OS or something like that, which is the next version of Windows 10, or a future release of Windows 10, I should say, that will allow the operating system to live on multiple devices of different form factors. So maybe we'll see that. Who knows? Other than that, I don't have any other news other than to remind you about UCDay. Get on over to www.ucday.co.uk, sign up for your free ticket, and we'll see you there. So I hope you can make it. It'd be good to meet some of you guys. other things that I want to talk about. So I have something in the workings right now. I can't really say too much, but yeah. So in the light of the UC architects disappearing, it's kind of sad news, unfortunately, but understandable, really. Trying to get 10 people together in probably 4 different time zones is kind of challenging. It was a great ride while it lasted. I was a good listener of the show. And it leaves kind of a big hole there in the UC. So maybe something come up. Maybe we'll work on something to try and fill that gap. I know I was never part of the UC architects, but we'll see. Yeah, so other than that, I mean, my work's been pretty quiet at the minute, so I haven't really got a lot to work with. So I haven't really got any experience to sort of give over. What have I been working on? Something you might see on the board back there, that some kind of like table where I'm working some stuff out. So just to give you a bit of background, I've been playing around with Polycom's Real Presence Resource Manager 10.1. And that has a phone provisioning solution for the VVX and Trio devices built into that now. So that's a kind of compelling offering that Polycom never really had before. So previously, if you wanted to provision a VVX phone, you had to create an FTP site and go and create your XML files and your config files, rather, for phones and regions and what have you. And it was kind of a manual process, and pretty nasty, to be fair, especially if you're new to it. And then Event Zero came out with UC Commander, which had Polycom phone provisioning built in, but then Microsoft come and bought and buys the IP from Event Zero, which meant they had no product. No, so that kind of washed out at the beginning of the year. So February, they released version 1 of their UDM suite, which basically is Polycom provisioning and phone number management. So if you're familiar with UCC Commander, the interface looks pretty similar. But then Polycom come out and release this RPRM with phone provisioning, and you're thinking, well, why would I go to somewhere else when I can go to the vendor? And this kind of strengthens the bond, really, and strengthens the message when you're selling it to customers. So previously, you always had that difficult discussion where you talk to the customer, say, well, you want Skype for Business. Great, fantastic. By the way, we try and not do desk phones. And they go, well, actually, we're going to need some. So you go, okay, well, you've got a choice of Polycom, HP, Mitel in the old days. And really speaking now, it's only come down to sort of 2.1 vendors. And so there's Polycom being the main vendor of phones, Yealink being the other, and Audio Codes have got their own solution. So those are the kind of 3 main manufacturers, but by far Polycom is the best known. It's the most integrated with Skype, so they've been around for a long time. So now when you had that discussion with the customer saying, hey, you got Skype for Business, let's go and give you some Polycom phones. But now you need this other solution to manage these Polycom phones. And it kind of becomes like a 3-way sort of chain of management. And it was always kind of hard for the customer to swallow, because they're so used to having a single vendor solution, whereby the back end's like Cisco or Avaya, what have you, and the phone is badged to Cisco or Avaya. So they kind of struggle with that mentality, and they're always like, well, if a phone isn't provisioning correctly, is that a Polycom support request, or is it an Event Zero request? Who's at fault? And it's always kind of blurred lines and what have you. So the fact that RPRM now comes from Polycom and they've got phone provisioning in, it kind of erases that conversation. So you can say, well, Skype for Business is supported by Microsoft, Polycom is supported by Polycom. If you've got provisioning solution from Polycom, then it's it's an end-to-end solution. So that's kind of a strong message to customers, and I think that's the USP really, and the big pull to use RPRM. Now I heard mixed reviews about RPRMs with other people who used it. And I must admit, I've been kind of skeptical about it too, thinking, well, is it going to be any good? Have they just shoehorned this in somehow into an existing product, or have they put some significant thought into it? And I must say, been playing around with this solution now for about a week, and yeah, it's very good. It just works. So it's super easy to set up. It's quite competitive on pricing as well with others out there. Yes, it only really does Polycom phones, but it also does your Polycom VC infrastructure as well. So it's for sort of one like resource manager for all your UC equipment if you're a Polycom house. So I mean, it makes sense. So yeah, check it out if you're looking for a provisioning solution. Then there is the Polycom option out there. So yeah, great work. I think 10.2 is in beta now, and looking forward to seeing that release. Don't think there's anything major coming, just a couple of sort of bug fixes and what have you. All right, so that's it for this show. We've got over 30 minutes now, so hopefully we'll see you in September with some more news. And if I don't see you next month, then obviously I will see you at UCDay. And yeah, bye for now.